Hello, Husky fans, and welcome to another episode of the UConn Daily Podcast. This is Aman Kidwai, joined by John Silver. We've got a lot of great stuff to talk about. Well, we have a lot of stuff to talk about, John. Uh,
Mm.
First and foremost, we'll start with the men's basketball loss at Seton Hall. Unbelievable stuff. We'll also talk about the NBA dunk contest and a big win for women's basketball at South Carolina. First, John, the bad news. All right, we talked about how exciting it was to see Liam McNeely drop 38 points against Creighton. We said maybe all of these problems are fixed with McNeely back in the starting lineup, and UConn heads to Newark. Absolute dud of a game. Comes out flat. It's tight late. Well, no, sorry, it's not tight late. UConn has a lead late and collapses, leading to overtime. UConn finds its way to another lead, a 5 point lead in the final minute of overtime, collapses to give that one up as well. And in this collapse, they give up a game winning basket after a turnover. Brutal stuff. You cannot be losing to Seton Hall. To be just really blunt about it, Seton Hall's ranked 204th in Ken Palm. They had only won one league game before that day. They had uh, been on a 9 game losing streak going into this contest with UConn, a team that had serious postseason aspirations, even if it's not the Final Four championship contender that they wanted. John, your thoughts after the collapse in Newark?
No, no, no. Let's frame this in Connecticut about what's going on here. We have an ice storm and snow bearing down on everybody in the state on Saturday afternoon. So it's like a 2:30 game. It's perfect because for old people like me, we don't have to wait up at the 9 o'clock game. So we're sitting in front of it. We have the libations haven't started yet, and we're watching this game, right? And I don't know what happened in the first half. Okay, so but that's what they do. UConn goes hot and hold, and they give away the game, 7 point lead in the final minute to get the overtime, and then they get in overtime. And in every basketball game that these players have played in their life, they've had to inbound the basketball, right? So like it's dribble, it's pass. When the other man scores, you take the ball out and inbound it. It's not that hard. It's 90 feet, a 90-foot court. You're allowed to screen people. You're allowed to make a hard banana cup. They can't get the ball inbound. They're not strong with the ball. They're being reactive, and they lose that game. And then it snows in Connecticut. You can't go anywhere, and we had to sit with that game watching TV all night on Saturday. So now the only one who had a worse experience in an evening on Saturday was Dan Hurley because you cannot, in any sense, like that's like, is it coaching malpractice? I don't know. I mean, Dan can't get on the court and inbound the ball and be strong with the ball. They're going to foul you, solo ball. What are you trying to step through the double team? You're an 80 something for that foul shooter. I would have dribbled to the corner. I would have dribbled the corner. I'm not giving up that ball. I want the 2 points. It just defies explanation for me. And let's think of this: is they Carabin misses 2 free throws, blew the Villanova game, right? It happens. They blew this game because they couldn't inbound the ball, right? They had 26 turnovers against St. John's. They lost games because they couldn't stop following in Molly. They lost 2 games because they couldn't stop following in Molly. I mean, they've given away about 5 games this year, maybe 6 games. Um, uh, that's who they are. They're unreliable. And, I know Alex Carabin has some strong words about saying that, well, we're not serious. I don't really believe that. I believe what he's just trying to come up with something that how they lose the Seton Hall. The problem is everybody's waiting for somebody else to do something. And, somebody has to take control of this team and settle them down. I want to give one shout out to one player on the team. It's Hassan Diarra. He shouldn't be playing. He's playing. He has no explosiveness in that knee, and anybody who's ever dealt with tendonitis knows it hurts, and you just can't run, jump, throw. Okay, and obviously he's a supreme athlete, but for him to have to play 29 minutes against Seton Hall, and he had to because nobody else could get organized without him on the floor, is it's just I just found I'm going to use a British soccer term. That was a tragic loss. Okay, that game was a tragedy. I mean that's the worst loss of the Hurley era. I don't care about any 30-year-old Teddy Allen score going off in the NCAA tournament. That was as bad as when I was at Gamble Pavilion, still covering the team full time, and some kid from Yale who's probably some middle manager in corporate America hit a three in the corner to win 46-45. Now let's and I'm amped up as you can see on this Monday President's Day, but I don't understand how they play so slow. How that game was 58 points, they only took 59 shots. Look at the women's game. Look what they did with pace. Like they're not anywhere near physically to what South Carolina was, and they're not. I don't even think they're quicker than South Carolina. They're definitely not stronger, taller, leaner, more athletic. But they beat them with energy and pace. This team lacks energy, pace, lacks an on-court Cam Spencer, Tristan Newton. I get it; those are great players, but come on, you have enough talent here. There's 4 pros on the team. Somebody has to take control of the game. Somebody has to want to take control of this team.
Yeah, I mean, the team's deficiencies are what they are, and we know them, right? We've talked about them. We've expressed concern around them. There's not enough ball handling. There's not enough strength
Mm,
in the low post,
yeah.
rebounding ability. Both Terrace Reed and Samson Johnson, while talented, do have a propensity to disappear for stretches or just not be reliable enough to stay on the court. That is all true. You still can't lose to Seton Hall.
No.
That's what goes down
Yeah.
here. You still can't lose to Seton Hall. It was an absolute comedy of errors in the final minute of regulation. Again, final minute of overtime, missing free throws, foul on a three-pointer, uh, 5-second violations, uh, the inbound pass that was the football pass all the way down the court. It's just like what are we doing here, right? Some tiny amounts of bad luck, right? The dunk that clangs out for a deep rebound for the three-pointer to tie at the end of regulation. That kind of stuff you can live with. But so many unforced errors by UConn at the end there. So many. And they needed literally all of them. If
All of
you
them.
don't have just one less 5-second violation, missed free throw, any of those things, you're winning the game still.
Yeah.
And you come out of that, you say, okay, we burned the game film, but we take home the dub, and hopefully it's a wake up call. I don't know how many more wake up calls this team needs. Right? That's what we're getting back to is when is someone going to be assertive? When is someone going to take charge? Alex Caravan, after a slow start, did have his first uh, 20-point game in a while. He had his first multi 3-point game since January 21st. And I still think there's something where you got to see more from him in
Mm,
terms of takeover, willingness to take over, when nobody else is. And, the you you really can't even fall behind as much as they did. I know it happened with
mm,
DePaul. I know this team is streaky. You just, especially after what you did on Tuesday night, arguably saved the season with a win at Creighton, and to just let it go like this, um, it really is kind of a mental strength thing. Hurley said it after the game. We got what we deserved. I think he sees the writing on the wall of that. There could even be a few more losses for UConn if a few things don't go their way in some games. We got what we deserved. He said we looked like a poorly coached team out there, and what else can you say when you give up a 7-point lead with 45 seconds left, a 5-point lead with 1 minute left in overtime? Uh, this is a execution and mental makeup challenge in addition to the skill gaps that this team has, and that's what I think is most concerning going forward.
Yeah, I think the thing is the decision making. It's the you need to be when you play basketball and you're on the court, and anybody who's played at the playground, and all these players play in environments in AAU, so they've been exposed to so much more basketball than players of 20, 30 years ago were. And maybe not as competitive situations, because AAU, I'd argue, is not very competitive as far as it's more a developmental, but they faced pressure because everybody knows in middle school hoops is the ball handling is not developed and the passing is not strong enough to beat the full court press. So everybody full court presses in middle school. So every player there has experienced pressure full court. Make a banana cut. We used to practice that at old St. Thomas Aquinas High School in New Britain, Connecticut. Home of Rod Foster and also Lamar Owen went to school there. Um, and one of the things is we used to practice banana cuts. I couldn't. You could set a screen. I mean, I could devise the play. So I do appreciate Dan Hurley saying that they look like poorly coached. They did. They did look poorly coached. I can guarantee you that's not on Dan Hurley. I mean, they've gone over press breaker. They've gone over setting screens, getting open. I mean, when the guy gets open, make a quick decision, pass it to the open man, be strong with the ball. I mean, there's nothing more to it. Don't fall down. I thought Solo Ball was fouled, and to even get that close is a calamity errors that everything had to compound. But I think it's just indicative of the team lacking confidence, lacking strength and toughness, and it's physical toughness. I think was what they're lacking. Not necessarily mental. Mental toughness is hard. Like when your shot goes in, you look mentally tough. When your shot misses, of course you're slow to go slow. But I think they lack physical toughness. And that's something that's hard to. That doesn't mean you can't shy away from contact. You have to. You got to grab the game and win it. They're good enough. I think they have enough talent. They're just missing something, and they play too slow. That's me. I like more up tempo basketball. They had too fast break points. I'm on. If you're struggle scoring, get more shots up. That's still Jim Calhoun school. It's like, listen, we might even be a good shooting team, so we're going to take as many shots as we need to score a lot of points. So we're going to just shoot more. Like the more you struggle on the offense, the more you should shoot, because if you're a great shooting team like the team in the last 2 years, you can execute, get a great shot, and if you get a great shot, you're going to nail it. But this is not a great shooting team. Look at their 3-point percentages. I mean, they're very streaky. They have the ability, but it's not there yet. I mean, part of that's Kerrigan's historic inability to hit an open shot from three, and I don't get it. I don't think he does either. I don't have any advice, but they need to get more shots up, maybe generate something off their defense, easy shots off their defense, and then when they get a chance to run and get it up quick and get an open shot, they can't pass it up. They're not a good enough offensively to run their stuff to get an easy layup or get an open shot. They run some great stuff, but they're just not. They're just putting all their eggs into the execution basket, and they're just not that team.
Worth noting just that since he got here, Dan Hurley has always gotten the most out of his teams.
Mhm.
He has always taken whatever roster he has, even the very first one, and made it the most it could be, gotten the most out of it. And that's the concern right now is that not happening here with this roster? And then why? Uh, and I think it's mostly that they expected a few guys to step up.
Mhm.
If you look back at the last 2 years, these championship teams, uh, it wasn't like a blue chip ratio kind of team. I know that's a
Mhm.
football term, but it wasn't one of those absolutely stacked recruiting rosters. It was stacked because so many guys were improved from their year before what they were.
Mhm.
And I think this year it's really clear that there are some sophomores who didn't step up, even Alex Caravan, not able to be
Mm.
this leading man kind of role that was maybe envisioned for him going into this season. The sophomores and Aiden Mahaney, not being able to be a reliable enough ball handler out there. I think the upside is that again, this coaching staff is good enough to do that. Again, they have shown every single year, all 6, 7 years that they've been here, an ability to get the most out of everyone. There is still time, but it's time is running out.
Mm.
At this point, you have to really make some noise through the remainder of this season. So we're talking about the rest of the schedule. 6 games left in the regular season, folks. It's almost over. We're in the home stretch. We're in the final month, less than that. Villanova at home, St. John's at MSG, Georgetown at home, Providence on the road. Those 2 games should not be ignored.
Yeah.
By the way, I think those are
Nope.
going to be 2 tough games, even though they were 2 wins for UConn earlier. Marquette at home, which also is going to be a really tough one, and then they end with Seton Hall in the season finale. So that's it. It's put up or shut up time. Uh, they have the Big East tournament, but at this point, right, what's their seed going to be in the Big East tournament if they don't take care of business over these next few
Yeah.
weeks? That's what I'm also concerned about now is that do they let this slide go even further? And do they let it lead to things like the loss to Dayton and Maui, right? Are we going to have just another version of that across the end of this season? Because once the losses start piling up, man, we're talking about being a bubble team or something like that if there's like
Yeah.
2 more
No,
losses. So uh
they're sliding
at this
onto it, Amon.
yeah, so this is really you've painted yourself into a corner up against a wall. New situation for kind of UConn and Dan Hurley and the fellas. Um, there's some other takeaways, about maybe what was the should UConn have been even trying to go for a third straight championship, right? Do you have what it takes to really reload a second straight season with no shade intended at anyone, right? Like just lesson learned, right? In this era,
Hmm.
tough to do that. By the way, nobody's done that since the 70s. So it's not shade.
Yeah.
It's just saying, hey, couldn't make a contender, did not become Alabama football overnight, and still time to build. I think the future is still bright for the team and all that stuff. Look at the recruiting they've got coming in. It's just this year, the conceit was to try and go for a three-peat. They tried to put something together to do it. It's not working out in that way. I think at this point, though, they really are going to need to press to make this even reach kind of a state of an acceptable season because not making the tournament would be an unacceptable outcome.
Yeah. I still always a person who believes in talent. I always believe that talent wins in March, and there's something happens to basketball teams when they get in March. Talent comes forward. These are neutral site games. You're more comfortable. I think there is something to playing in Newark, New Jersey, getting on a bus like it's an old high school game. Um, one of the things is, can we say the quiet part out loud? Is Aiden Mahaney was brought in to start to be the point guard, to shoot, to give them solid play at the one guard and to hit 3 pointers. And he's been unable to play at this level for whatever reason. Confidence, athleticism. I don't. I do think the West Coast Conference and what he did at St. Mary's, he's proven he can play at the higher Division 1 level. I don't, it's just not working. I mean, I'm not going to say, it's not the Nick Timberlake situation of Kansas last year, but where he just has lost his shot. But I just don't see. Dan Hurley can't trust Mahaney to come in and be productive. I don't know why it hasn't worked. I saw highlights of him. I remember him at St. Mary's. He was good. It just hasn't worked. That happens. Players get into a funk. Sometimes you start pressing, and then at the end of the day, is he has to overplay Giara, who right now this kid can't play now. I mean, it has to be painful for him. He looks like a 15-year vet. out there. I mean, 10 to 9 just hurts. I don't think Hassan has enough explosiveness to continue this. There's zero chance he's going to be able to play 3 straight games in the Big East tournament if they get there. Like back to backs would be tough. Like if this was the NBA, you'd never play a back to back. Um, I don't, I don't know. So they don't have that there. Terrace Reed has been as good as I thought he was going to be, but I'm stunned at his inconsistency. And that has really hurt. He only played like 5 6 minutes the other day. He's had monster games, and then he disappears. Part of that's foul trouble. Part of that's matchup. But they're not getting enough production out of that center all the time. Sometimes it's incredible. Sometimes Sampson has a great game. Sometimes Terrace has a great game. Sometimes they combine for a great game when it goes 20-20. But against Seton Hall, they got killed on the boards. Sampson wasn't that great production wise, and Terrace was a no show. Uh, I mean, so there's 2 spots: point guard and center. Carabin can't hit an open shot. Now you're relying on Solo Ball and McNeely to run your offense. Solo Balls is going to be a tremendous scorer. I think next year he's going to. I'm assuming all these guys return. You never know what a scout says or some bag comes in, but I think Solo Ball can be a huge scorer next year. He has everything you want scoring wise. Has to improve his ball skills, passing, dribbling. He's not. It's not to the level that they need at this level for him to play a combo guard position. He's not a small forward. He's not a 6'8" small forward who doesn't handle. He has to handle. Ahmad Knoll. I'm disappointed. I know his uncle is too. About his. I think he could. He's a point guard. I don't know his injuries, but I have to assume that he's hurt and or there's something else going on because they could sorely use another ball handler out there. And he's probably the best ball handler on the team. Him or McNeely. But asking McNeely to be the point guard, the scorer, the shooter, the fire, I mean, that's a lot to ask of one player. I think he can do it, but who knows? It's very disappointed. You you can't get mad. It's not a three-peat. Okay. You know what I'm hoping for? How about 8 seed Duke second round somewhere in the East Coast? That'd be awesome. I take that. I sign up for it. Who doesn't want to sign up for that right now?
They won't give UConn a favorable 8 seed place. If it's an 8 seed, they'll be out in Boise playing.
Wait, see. No, they're going to be in Raleigh. They're going to be where I guarantee you there's a tournament in North Carolina and Duke's. They're going to be playing Duke and Charlotte. I don't know. I'll have to see where the team is. That's it. That's where I'm going. I
Yeah,
also want to see, if they're not going to win the national title, I'm not, or get to the Final Four or be a favorite. Have them play the best team number 2. Go out, like I said. I think I said this last podcast of mine. Let's have them go out on their shield. Go take your best shot at Duke in a round of 32. Hopefully you don't go 2 for 18 in the first round, but yeah, just do it. Have some fun with it. Because if they beat Duke, then all's forgiven, right? So you get a chance at redemption there.
yeah. I mean, yes, and it's not like it's a playbook UConn fans have not seen before, right?
Yeah,
Underachieve in the
yeah.
regular season, achieve achieve to the utmost in the postseason. Does this team have Kemba Walker? Can a freshman Liam McNeely be that type of person? Maybe, maybe.
Hey, that's why they play the games. It's
That's
still
why they
worthwhile to
play.
watch.
That's exactly right. UConn, some reasons to be concerned, many reasons to be concerned. They've also been 4 games under 40% shooting. So a lot of difficulty there. But we will move on. Just pointing out, though, next UConn game Tuesday night at the XL Center, 6:30 p.m. against Villanova. I'll be there. All right. We also had this weekend, John, a chance to check out the NBA's All-Star Weekend festivities. Now, I'm going
Oh,
to admit, I'm an NBA casual. Like the way people talk about college basketball and they say they only check in for March Madness. That's me with the NBA. I only check in when the playoffs start. I think
Okay.
I think playoff NBA is some really great stuff. The regular season, I'm a little busy, right? I'm busy with my UConn stuff, with some other stuff. I'm more of a football fan, so I don't get super into the NBA. I'll admit this is my first time watching the game, the dunk contest in a few years. In a few years, I hadn't seen much. I did not know what Mac McClung was up to on his reign of terror over the dunk contest. But Steph Castle participated in the Rising Stars game, winning MVP in that on Friday night. Saturday night participates in the dunk contest, gives us a couple of real nice slams, but unfortunately, Mac McClung was just on it. He's also potentially maybe using a little bit of extra help. We're not here to push conspiracy theories, but having a human holding the ball up for all four, John, I don't know about that. I don't know about that with Mac McClung. We may need to investigate. Steph Castle wins second in the NBA dunk contest. I thought he had two incredible ones in the final. One with the layup going in, and he grabs the ball and does a windmill slam. The other with the pass to yourself and put it up and slam while you're also doing a 360. I thought that was incredible stuff from Steph Castle. Amazing to see from a rookie. Uh, that's my NBA dunk contest champion. Mac McClung is a G leaguer, and maybe it's fun to have him one year, but 3 years in a row. What are we doing? I'm not sure. Thoughts on Steph Castle? Impressive performance in the dunk contest, and our old Big East friend, the pride of Georgetown University, Mac McClung, winning his third straight.
Okay. I'm going to be nice here on, and I'm an NBA junkie as opposed to you casuals. I watch too many games, especially when you can gamble and get, especially when you can gamble and get the NBA League Pass free for like 3 months. I had no idea Max McClung was playing pro basketball. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is those are not basketball dunks. Like jumping over a car, getting some guy to hold it, jumping over somebody. Well, what are we doing here? Now, uh, I was stunned that they brought the car out. He kind of copied Blake Griffin's Kia moment. He gets the Kia. That's probably he scored 1 point in the NBA all year. Okay, so that's one more point than me. Okay, so I mean, if you could score 1 point in the, why didn't they just go get old UConn friend Quentin Williams and put him in the dunk contest? He's the greatest dunker ever. I mean, he could have jumped over 2 cars. Nobody jumped higher than that guy. Um, it just it just shows how ridiculous the NBA can get, and they're trying. And I love this sport. I love the NBA. I'm one of the few people who love both NBA and college. I don't know why there's this dichotomy that you either love college or NBA. I love college because they play hard, and it's my school, and the games are really competitive and really fun, and they're really fun to watch. They're really competitive. The NBA is just a brilliant exhibition of athleticism and basketball skill. Nothing's worse than a bad NBA game. But I watch the Celtics, so most of the games are pretty good. I don't understand what that was in the dunk contest. Did you see Victor Wembanyama and Chris Paul cheating in the skills challenge? I mean, and then
Hideous stuff.
Chris,
Hideous stuff.
and then Chris Paul arguing with the referee, which is that is what you come for. I mean, and then they had whatever they had Sunday. I tried to turn it on. I didn't know what was happening. I saw Kevin Hart on the floor. I, I don't know. They got it. There has to be basketball on NBA All Star Weekend, and I'm not sure we got any basketball. And then Max McClung, I joke around. How is Stephon Castle with his dunks, which were dunks that would be legal in a basketball game if he tried to perform them? I mean, what are you going to? Max McClung's going to come on a G League game. They're going to park a car in the middle of the lane so he can jump over. Is that like supposed to impress me? I mean, is this a tough man contest where a guy's moving 2 aircraft carriers or whatever, or 737 Boeing jets? I mean, that was the refrigerator toss or a keg toss of an event. I just don't find any value. But let's talk NBA real quick. And I went on my nice little thing there. Let's talk NBA and Stephen Castle or Stephon Castle. Uh, what he's meant to the Spurs and what this means going forward in the NBA. Everybody knows who Victor Wembanyama is because he's 7'11" and he shoots threes. So, but Victor Wembanyama is a generational talent. I think Cooper Flag's a generational talent. Sorry. It kills that he's not in stores, and it was very close from what I understand. But that Victor Wembanyama is going to dominate this league eventually. Okay, they went and got De'Aaron Fox, who's a high-scoring point guard, and we're going to see Stephon Castle move into that like Scottie Pippen role. Maybe not like a Klay Thompson, because I don't think Castle's ever going to be a shooter like that. But he's going to be the number two scorer. He's going to end up taking over for Chris Paul as the lead facilitator. They're going to play a De'Aaron Fox, super speed, super fast scorer, and Castle as your combo guard, playmaker, defender. Great scorer, great athleticism, great defender, good passer, and then they're going to have the big guy Wemby. So I'm looking at that team in San Antonio, and with a guy like Castle, that they're going to win an NBA championship. And when they talk about what they think of Castle, and if you look at his stats, you're like, well, he's shooting 40 something percent. He's terrible from three. He's one of the worst distance shooters in the NBA. When the Sacramento Kings called to trade Aaron Fox, they wanted one guy. And the Spurs were like, hung up the phone, no thank you. He's not going. They absolutely adore him. NBA scouts adore this guy. He's not even scratched the surface of what he's going to do in the NBA. He is he's more athletic, more explosive than Drew Holiday. And look at what Drew Holiday has done. Won two NBA titles. What did he do with the Celtics last year when he came? Now, Castle is going to be the best perimeter defender in the league, and they have the best interior defender in the league. And both of them are going to be 20-point caliber scorers. If you're going to watch a team and it's not my Boston Celtics, the Knicks are fun. Cleveland is fun to watch. San Antonio is the future of the league. Not out in LA with whatever Luca and whatever the NBA gives him.
No, that's good stuff. There, you're right. The new big three brewing in San
Mm,
Antonio, and there's so much to love about everything we've seen from Steph Castle in his
mm,
young NBA career. Even just this past weekend, being showcased the way he is, it, very great stuff. All very secondary though to the stuff you're talking about, which is how he's performing in these games, which is so much better, so much more important. Spurs fans really love him. Spurs players really love him and what he brings. Yeah, I mean, this guy's going to be a multi-time All-Star and probably multi-time champion if it all
uh,
goes according to plan there in San Antonio. So exciting stuff. You love to see when your players go to a good franchise and then that
mm,
franchise, puts it together. And it's just so exciting for him and for UConn fans as well. Even myself as a casual in the NBA, it's a reason to watch it more, right? There's been more of a reason if you're a UConn fan
mm,
to keep tabs on the NBA. There's more Huskies on teams all over the place, and you're going to start seeing them in the All-Star game pretty regularly as well, I think.
mm. Yeah, definitely. I think Castle, when San Antonio gets there, he's never going to be a huge 30, 20. He's not Shea Gilgeous Alexander, but Castle is going to be that secondary player that just makes that team go in San Antonio. And also, let's not forget, right before the break, Donovan Clingan had another monster game. It's going to take him a little while because his offense is way behind where he is defensively and rebounding wise, but it's looking good in Portland. They had an awful beginning of the year, but they reeled off like 9 of 10, and I think once they settle the roster, dump DeAndre Ayton, quite frankly, and get some more money. Scoot Henderson, Donovan Clingan, they got my Robert Williams, who Celtics fans know as the Time Lord. They're going to be very good out in Portland. They're going to be tough. Now, I don't think they're San Antonio. Nobody has that, but I look at the power. Everybody think Luca in LA. I think the world of what San Antonio's doing. Got lucky again.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny how good franchises seem to get lucky too. And there's no conspiracy because there's zero chance they want Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. And he needs to be in Chicago. They need
Yeah.
that franchise back. But
That's a good point.
but they know what they're doing down there and they play good basketball. And that's in I think I read somewhere last year that Greg Popovich was absolutely infatuated with Stephon Castle when he watched him play from when he was so it's pretty good. So watch more NBA, people. Don't go to Twitter and complain about it when you haven't watched it. Now, if don't watch the Bulls though. It's or the Wizards. Some of the most god awful basketball you ever see.
Well, I was going to mention the Hawks and the Rockets for passing on Steph Castle for guys who are not.
I don't understand the Reed Shepard. Sorry. Don't get me wrong. I have a good friend who's a Kentucky fan, and he swears by Reed Shepard. I have no idea what Houston's
I
doing.
never did either, but I'm never a draft guy anyway, so I just kind of like let it be. But yeah, and then there's still the same like 2007 era like, hey, this guy from a different country, he might be better than anything we've ever seen, and it's like, oh wait, he's not. Oh, he's not going to play a single second in the NBA potentially, which is like, again, that's like a 15-year-old take that still is kind of like usable because some GMs just can't stop
Uh,
getting out of their own
yeah.
way.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't understand the Zachary
yeah,
Riche or whoever the Hawks did, and
ex-
the Wizards I get with
exactly.
Sar. Sar's a big guy.
Sure.
I don't see he's actually averaging a lot of points. I'd say for rookie of the year, to me it'd be either Castle or Sar. I'd pick Castle. I think winning matters. Um, Jordan Poole would be an all star if points mattered. And
Yeah,
they won like 6 games.
Castle is the favorite by the Vegas odds makers,
Yeah,
and
best player.
even Kia releases a rookie rankings, and
Mm.
he's first on those.
You
Well,
know
that's
what
our
else?
NBA.
One Oh, let me say one other thing though. It reminds me on Castle and I had it out with Purdue fans since since the title. They didn't really take last year's national championship loss very well. So they thought Zach Edey was going to be the rookie of the year, and I said Castle, and people laughed at me and said, because Zach Edey, he was the best player in college. Of course, he's going to be the best player in the NBA. And Edey's going to have a good career, but
Doesn't
I
work
don't
that
think
way.
it doesn't work like that in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, final segment here. UConn women's basketball. John, we talked about them in our last episode, expressing some concern after the loss at Tennessee, wondering what UConn will do for its resume, noting that they have this South Carolina game, but it's been tough sledding for the Huskies in South Carolina as of late. This past Sunday, nothing of the sort. This was like the Super Bowl redux. They were up. UConn was up 21-14 at halftime. It was a
Mm.
22 point. Oh, sorry, 21-14 after the first quarter. It was a 22-point lead at halftime. They won 87-58 in South Carolina. AZ Fudd dropped 28 points after an 18-point third quarter. We love to see that. I think her and Yana El Alfi were both doing a great job of being assertive, which is something that had been lacking in the past. And what a complete performance by this team! What a demonstration of what it's capable of being. Uh, the expectations have risen, right? You showed us what you're capable of. Everyone felt like UConn had this within them, and we weren't necessarily always seeing it. There were a lot of injuries in the years past. They're as healthy as they've been now. I think Aubrey Griffin brings something to the table that's really uh, helpful and important for them. Uh, Hopefully, this is something that they can build on
Mhm.
because they needed that going into the postseason, going into the NCAA tournament. Thoughts after watching the South Carolina domination on Sunday?
This is the best game I've seen them play in years. One of the things I think I've expressed this several times on Twitter or X, whatever it's called. Been going on Blue Sky, even Threads, complaining not complaining, but being at the USC game, seeing the positional size and the athleticism and the length of other teams really give UConn problems playing basketball. Like they're unable to stop them. So what did they do is they just went to another level of speed. I don't know if they're quicker. They're definitely not more athletic than South Carolina, but they played with a frenzy and an energy and I think it was what's the term pace that just asphyxiated South Carolina. South Carolina couldn't keep up with them. They couldn't guard them. I mean, we're going to see them take the ball up and another open quick shot three from Fudd or Ashland Shade. I thought Shara Strong was terrific. Paige Becker's had a terrible shooting game, but had 12 points, 10 assists, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, or something like that. She's Chris Paul. She's not Caitlin Clark scoring. She's more of a Chris Paul type point guard. I want people to understand what kind of player she is. That's who she reminds me of as a basketball player. Is Chris Paul. She's just even when she doesn't shoot well, she can influence the game with her passing and organizational ability. The men could use her. One of the things that I loved was the ability to just speed South Carolina up. South Carolina thought they were going to be able to run roughshod over UConn. And look at it. I watched the game this morning right before we came on again. Paid a little more attention. And South Carolina wanted to just beat UConn up, be physical, and they never let them. UConn had 32 fast break points. 32 fast break points in that game. Your best way to play offense, and this is something I wish they do on the men's side. Different personnel, different skill sets, but being able to get a shot quickly in the shot clock, a good shot with good shooters is the way they need to play. They need to up tempo the games. They can't allow the UCLA, South Carolinas, USC's, the teams that can beat them. Because if you don't control UConn's pace, they're going to run you off the floor. I mean, that was like, you ever heard that? UConn ran South Carolina off the floor. They didn't control the pace, and UConn asphyxiated them. It was like they ran a marathon, and South Carolina tried to sprint the whole way. Like, I'm sure South Carolina has no idea what just happened to them. That's going to happen. UConn's going to be able to do that to teams. If they can do that in the NCAA tournament when they face these power teams, and maybe they learn from the Tennessee game. This is the brilliance of Gino Auriemma's coaching is he splintered. He's the only guy in the country, maybe because the Big East is so bad, but they sprinkle in these super games in the middle of their season, and by the time they've seen everything, by the time the NCAA tournament rolls around, let's hope they get a good whistle there. But I'd expect them to now start vying for a 1 seed. They're not going to lose again. Let's see. So probably move up to 5, 4 here. You want to see UConn as a 2 seed in the East. I'm not sure the 1 seed wants to see UConn there. So we'll see. We'll see where they go. I think that was the best. This is the first time this year since probably the USC game where I looked at them and I was like, if they're going to win a national championship, and let's be clear, it's been a long time for them. I would expect them back in the Final Four this year. I think they're going to get there. I think they have enough to get there. But if they're going to win it, they're going to have to beat one of these teams with South Carolina's might even be South Carolina, but USC, UCLA, and whatnot. I really liked their pace. That's how they're going to win those games. They're just going to make the game a running game. They're going to make those teams defend 94 feet, and they have a lot of shooting. I'm glad they're finally shooting more threes than they're used to. I think that's their biggest, most efficient way to win these games against these huge teams. And shout out to Sarah Strong, who's tremendous. See, they need to hit the weight room though. I don't like seeing like the South Carolina players, the Tennessee players. They look like they came out of central casting for like the Monstars. You know, they're long, they're lean, they look like they're 30 years old. Hit the weight room next year, but UConn's skill level is far superior, and that's what Gene Warrior recruits. He recruits basketball players.
No, Sarah Strong is incredible. I mean, that's what a poised player for a freshman. She's been doing that since game one, and future's bright for the team with her
Yeah,
continuing to
yeah.
be on it. But what I think was most important here was seeing that edge from them, seeing them
Mm,
have that competitive drive, and then channeling that into performing like they have not performed before. And I think that's, yeah, maybe the Tennessee game was a wake up call for them. They should not have lost that game in so many for so many different reasons. And I will say, looking at their home stretch of the regular season, yeah, I know we've said a lot about how rough the Big East is in terms of being bad and not really offering much in the way of a challenge for them. The second best team in the league is Creighton,
Great coming
who
in.
UConn beat by 11 points on the road a few weeks ago. Uh, they have their home meeting with Creighton in a couple of weeks. Uh, to their credit, Creighton has beaten everyone else that they've played besides UConn in league play. So that's the other big matchup. We
Mhm.
will get that. And then the other team that's like been kind of decent over these last few years is Marquette. This is not really their year. Seton Hall's ahead of them in the standings at third. Marquette's fourth. So, but UConn is playing both of those teams. Seton Hall is UConn's next game this Wednesday, and they'll end the season March 2nd at home against Marquette. So, for whatever it's worth, they are going to play the best teams that the Big East has to offer over the rest of this season. They'll play them one more time in the Big East tournament, but you got to hope people stay healthy. You got to hope they can keep this edge. Keep this edge. You know, you have to stay motivated even after you beat Butler by 40, which is going to happen next week on a Saturday. And even after you beat Marquette, by 20 or whatever to end the regular season. They won by 32 in their first meeting on January 1st. So you got to hope that they keep that going. Big East tournament, not going to be too much of a challenge, but once now we know in the national women's tournament, once you get to the Sweet 16, it's tough teams. It's
Stars.
really tough games and tough teams. So uh, that's what I'm going to be, concerned about is, okay, great win, amazing win. What just happened? How can they find that way in this next month to kind of keep it up? And um, will they kind of avoid that stumbling block early in the NCAA
Yeah.
tournament, because that's what would be the catastrophic result here in Paige and Azzi's final season.
Yeah, and one of the treasures of watching this team, and it's a treasure, is we're finally seeing both Paige and AZ Fudd healthy. And look at AZ Fudd's last two games, 34, now 28. And here's my favorite part about yesterday's game is AZ Fudd's 28 points was great, especially her three-point shooting, which, she's starting to look like the player I thought she was. And the player we expected. Not she is the player. I think she is the player we expected performance-wise. She took 22 shots, and I think that kind of dynamic backcourt scoring, Paige running the show, Fudd firing away, Paige setting up, either setting people up. You got the big down low. They'll figure out the size issues. I just this is going to be the last time we injuries robbed probably one of the great backdoor duos in women's college basketball history. With Paige Beckers and AC Fudd, injuries robbed that from us. How if those two never got Hood, would there have been a Caitlin Clark? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, uh, uh, don't put my Twitter handle up here, my X handle up here, because I'll have
Yeah, yeah.
Clayton, the Clayton Clark fan club will go off on me. But
Yeah,
if
John,
Paige
we're
doesn't hurt
clipping that.
any,
We're clipping that and putting it on social ASAP.
we'll put it on
The
some Vegas.
Clark fans
The
can have it.
UConn guys throw shade at Clayton Clark. The pot will blow up. And she's absolutely phenomenal. Just so everybody knows, she's the best scoring women's scorer. She's a magical player. I can't wait to see her when she comes to the casino. Okay, everybody. So I don't want anybody from Iowa saying I don't know basketball and I've never watched women's basketball before. Okay, you know, it wasn't invented 3 years ago.
I think it's great to know what would have happened if Adam Morrison played in the NBA. It's great to know. And thanks to Caitlin Clark for providing that for us.
She's
It's super exciting.
she plays like Trey Young. People get mad at that, but she's not Steph Curry. Steph Curry was more efficient and didn't turn over
Kyle
the ball as
Korver.
much. Kyle Korver. No,
Depending on
she plays like Trey Young. She has a little bit of she's Trey Young with more passion. She's great. I mean, her, I mean, she should have played. I'm upset she didn't play in. She didn't do the NBA All Star game, and she didn't. She didn't.
no.
She didn't play in Brianna Stewart's league. You know,
Well, that's different. But
I know.
All Star, she's going to be. I think they're doing the WNBA All Star in her city next year, so she's saving it up
Oh,
for that.
you know.
They don't need to be in the NBA All Star. They enjoy yourself, right?
Well,
NBA All Star Weekend. It's the big party. That's what I'd be doing.
I don't know.
I don't want to be.
I'd rather watch Caitlin Clark shoot threes than see Mac McClung jump over some new Bulls relative. I mean, come on. I mean, let's say they should do like a mixed 3-on-3, like Clayton Clark, Steph Curry, and Victor Wembanyama play against somebody. Listen, it's a crazy idea though, Aman, but it's better than what we were getting. I mean, they make the NBA All Star game in last year's game, which was the classic one, even this year's, I watched a little bit of it. It was boring. They make that flag football that the NFL does for the Pro Bowl. They make that look physical. Just
Yeah, it's tough. And I heard the hockey one was really great. I saw some clips from it.
it was
Um,
like they fought like 5 seconds in. They booed the anthem. I mean, this is it. I
well,
can't wait. I'm actually gonna
can't get into
watch.
that. We can't get into that. But
No, it's
yeah,
amazing though. It's amazing.
they did
Like,
do a
I can't wait
well,
to the next game. I'm gonna watch it. They're gonna fight 5 seconds in.
yeah, they did do a different format, the Four Nations Challenge. I think, yeah, I think like everyone is trying to figure out how to make their All-Star games more interesting. We might just be
Yeah,
past the point of
of All Star
All-Star
games.
games really working like that.
Yeah.
It's not 1955. We see them all the time on TV every day. I see them on social media every day. We know who the All-Stars are. I don't know, but that's not our problem. Um,
Thank
the
God.
UConn women's basketball team, we're very excited for their prospects. We believe they can finish this season on a high note. They still have the class of the Big East left on
Mhm.
their schedule for whatever that's worth. Some home games for the fans to check out at the very least. February 27th against Creighton, the other team that's doing decent in the Big East. They'll end the season against Marquette. That'll be a big day for the seniors, senior night. Senior afternoon. It's a 2 p.m. game. That is going to do it for us today with the UConn Daily Podcast. Thank you all for listening and watching.